VeChain update.
Let's get into it.
So today, guys, we're going to be taking another cheeky look at VeChain. We've got some fantastic news with, my baby. We'll get into that and see what's going on there. We'll also have a look at the charts and see exactly how VeChain has been performing. So, guys, as we get into this, if you do find it useful and informative, do go ahead and hit that like button for us. We both really do appreciate it. And, of course, if you have to be new to the channel and you'd like to stay up to date with the new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems, technical analysis, and news, then do go ahead and subscribe. By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here. It is free, you'll stay well informed, so why not? Right, Chris, anything else you want to add on VeChain before we kind of jump down and take a look at what's going on here with DNV, GL, Renji Hospital, and, my baby?
Yeah, just let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on all this news. I mean, it makes me even more bullish on a project that I am ultra bullish on already.
Fantastic. Let us know in the comments below what you think of this and, if VeChain is your biggest bag like it is Chris's. Right, let's jump on down and take a look.
Cool.
So VeChain, together with DNV, enabled Renji Hospital to launch the world's first blockchain-based IVF service app, 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓. And this is actually a really good feel-good story kind of thing, and yeah, let's get into see exactly what's going on, right? So I think this came out yesterday, so June 2nd, 2021. So basically in partnership with VeChain and DNV, GL, basically a Renji Hospital, a top-ranking hospital in China affiliated with the Shanghai University School of Medicine, basically has announced the launch of Smart Medical Care Project 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, the world's first blockchain-based basically IVF service app. This is a fantastic piece of news, right? So the IVF process is a very emotional and psychologically stressful journey for many women and families in the world, right? And I think this is, I think it's gonna be hard to find people who are unfamiliar with someone who's had to kind of go through something like this. So with the 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 improving the IVF process from data management to providing families with the ability to clearly see the development of their baby, we believe that 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 can play a key role in easing anxiety, depression, and stress associated with the IVF cycle, lifting the confidence and providing emotional support for tens of thousands and more women and families during this challenging stage of their lives. So this is Chris, in my opinion, a really good feel-good kind of story. And according to research and markets, China's IVF market is expected to exceed $2.8 billion by 2025. And the launch of 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 demonstrates that the Assisted Reproductive Service Center of Renji Hospital is committed to becoming the most advanced and high-quality IVF provider in Asia and helping develop their growing industry in a safe and compliant manner. And so a lot of that kind of stuff really does come across and sound really, really positive. And again, this is not the first time we've seen VeChain have a use case where you're dramatically changing the real world for the better. Right, we see this on countless different occasions with countless different dApps being built on VeChain, and this is just an example of another one of them. But this is a really good one. I really do like this one. So the center currently treats about 400,000 outpatients each year, and with this first step towards embracing blockchain innovation, the center can enhance transparency and data security for all parties. And the delivered outcome is greater trust in data, enhanced healthcare provider decision-making, providing greater data security for all parties, and most importantly, lessening the emotional and physical burden of women and families involved. So really do think this is fantastic. It's a new era, as they say here, in fertility treatment. So 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 is the first service of its kind to combine the merits of third-party assured data verification with the immutability of blockchain technology, and all information, imagery, and data trails from imagery produced by medical tools to the delivery. Ultimately, this is just fantastic stuff. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's quite a lengthy one, but I will drop this into the link in the description so you can actually have a good old read of this fantastic news for VeChain. So let's take a look and see what's actually going on in the crypto space as well. So obviously this fantastic news for VeChain. If we take a look at the general kind of sentiment within the market, we can see the fear and greed index here. This is currently rated at 24, which is extreme fear, but it has increased significantly from the level of 10 that we saw previously. So the overall blockchain or crypto space, as I should say, is still extremely fearful if you believe this. Now, of course, with a generalized fear and greed index like this, it's important that we actually have a balanced view and we actually take a look at VeChain specifically. So here at 𝗖𝗢, you can sign up for free and you can actually go and set up a dashboard for VeChain. I'm just going to click on VeChain here. And this will actually load up a lot of data specifically for VeChain. So currently its overall rating is a C1, and it has had a little bit of a change recently of a 0.7 in the last 7 days. If we scroll down just past the TradingView charts, and we can start seeing what the fear and greed index is for VeChain. So in this particular case, it's a grade D. So it's got that rating of a D for VeChain, and you can go ahead and actually just drill into 2021 and you can see how this has changed over time. So where it is right now is quite fearful compared to where it was in April, right? So we're looking to increase this in time, and I think we're starting to see that recovery happen within the charts, which is really positive. We can also see that there's the 𝗕𝗢𝗪 ratio over here. There's a C2 rating, so liquidity is less of an issue, but it could potentially still be a problem. And again, you can just drill in and see exactly what's going on there. The Sharpe ratio, again, this is risk to reward for those who are unfamiliar with the Sharpe ratio. So again, this one's actually rated as a D. So again, with the fear that's in the market, the liquidity being quite low, and the Sharpe ratio is naturally going to also be affected by some of these or the sentiment in the market. So again, the risk to rewards is slightly higher at the moment. But if we do take a look at the profitability for those people who have been paying attention to the channel from early on, and you got in your positions pretty early, you can see that the 𝗖𝗢 rating here for profitability, that return on investment, is the best it can be at an A1 rating. So it's done incredibly well. It's also got a B2 for peak end value demand as well. So in terms of having a deeper look at VeChain and everything that it has been up to in the space, it's really positive to see some pretty good information here for VeChain specifically. So we're not just talking about fear and greed index for the entire crypto space, but we're talking about it specifically for VeChain. And the benefits of 𝗖𝗢 here is it's all driven from artificial intelligence and machine learning, which means there's no human opinion in here. This is just data driven, which is fantastic. So let's take a look at the Bitcoin dominance. This is 2017, 2018, and we can see what we actually dropped down to 37 before having a rebound up towards 50, and then ultimately going up to 67%. And then once we got to that high point there for Bitcoin's dominance in 2017, this is December, we had the altcoins really go parabolic, bringing Bitcoin's dominance all the way down to 32%. So where we look where we are right now, we actually brought this down to 39, not the 37 that it was previously. And I do feel that we'll probably end up increasing Bitcoin's dominance up towards 50% before potentially moving it a little bit higher and then ultimately crashing it down as we have the peak of the bull run and the alts go parabolic. We'll start seeing Bitcoin's dominance drop down towards 30%. So in terms of where we are right now, we're about here on the cycle. Okay, we've got all of this still to come. And, we can see that from here. Now, this is backed up again by that stock to flow model where you can see where we are right now, this particular kind of correction right here. And this is where we were in this particular cycle back in July of 2017. And this actually was not as steep of a correction as we've recently had. But again, when we look at 2013, it was a very, very steep correction. So we're somewhere between the two of those. And what happened after both of those corrections where we had the parabolic move to the upside, just here, where we actually peaked above our Bitcoin value here. So ultimately, when it comes to Bitcoin, this line that runs through the middle here is the value that Bitcoin should hold based on its scarcity. And right now, obviously, it's below that value line. And ultimately, we'll be thinking about moving this thing up to that $200,000 to $300,000 level there. That seems to be where it's going to peak based on these previous runs that you can see here. So that is still to come. That will happen by the end of the year, in my opinion, or beginning of 2020. But timing is the hardest thing to gauge. It could be a slow recovery out of this wave 4, moving up into this area here. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Obviously, if there are master manipulators at play with Wyckoff accumulation, Wyckoff distribution, methods then in play, then ultimately this could be prolonged and they could just keep rinsing and repeating, or changing strategy altogether. Now we know what they've been doing. So we're watching this space and watching it carefully to see how it plays out. But my expectations are that Bitcoin will eventually go above this line because at the moment it's below value, and a lot of people will start seeing this and understanding exactly what is going on. But this has an impact on VeChain because ultimately at the moment, all the altcoins are coupled to VeChain with the exception of maybe one or two. And that includes VeChain in this scenario. So when we take a look at VeChain's chart here, this is the hourly view. But let's just take this up to our daily view to start with and just make this a little bit smaller so we can take a look at that bigger macro view, right? So ultimately, if I just zoom on out here, we can see this is VeChain in its entirety from the crash of March of 2020 through to where we are right now over here and the peak of wave 3. This actually, I believe, is a pretty clear and simple way, 5-wave Elliott move, right? So we can see this here. There's 5 waves to the upside. Now, what I'm going to do is for those people who often say VeChain doesn't do anything, it's not done anything. It all depends on when you got in. But let's hypothetically say you got in at the start of wave 1 during that crash. And in which case, if we put this up to the peak of wave 3, just about there, we can see that VeChain has actually grown by 17,752%. So obviously that's a best case scenario, right? Buying it at the bottom and selling it at the top, which is what we all kind of anticipate doing. But of course, that's nigh on impossible unless you're, in the know or just incredibly lucky. So let's hypothetically say we got in a little bit later. Let's say it was the end of March, or maybe it was over here, right? We found another crash in this particular time in May, right? And maybe we didn't sell it there. Maybe we're selling it today and the current price. That still represents 3,485%. My point here is VeChain hasn't been static in this journey. You can see quite clearly from the chart, it's been incredibly active and it's been performing incredibly well. So we can see that we are, in amongst this wave 4, moving back to the upside, potentially going into wave 5. It could be a potentially longer journey than wave 3. It could be something up from March all the way through to August that we saw with wave 1. It could take a significant amount of time. So we'll have to see how that one plays out and obviously what those expectations are for VeChain. So this is a good view, just give you that bigger macro picture as to what is actually going on here with VeChain. I'll make that a little bit bigger there so you can see those waves in clear in detail, right? So let's take a look at this on our hourly. Make this a little bit bigger and we'll take a look and see some of the detail of what's actually going on here with VeChain. Now, if I zoom on in, we have got this downward trend line, which you can see has been forming along here. It's got so many touch points. The downward trend line was incredibly strong. The upward trend line was also strong, and it was good to see a breakout event happen here, that the downward trend was completely broken, in the same way that Harmony 1 was as well on our previous video today. So right now we can see that the significance of this breakout, and it's following our upward trend. And we have this yellow box just up here. And this is the area that we want to enter and get the closed candle above. Okay, this is an absolutely key area for us. It's something that we need to see, but there is going to be resistance on this journey. We can see that we are having a bit of a pullback now because we were overbought, and this is perfectly fine and acceptable to see. We want to have these little corrections on this journey to the upside. Ultimately, we want to get that weekly closed candle up here. I'm not sure it will happen this weekend, but if it does, that would be fantastic. We need to see a massive breakout for VeChain to really take advantage of the scenario, but we also do need to correct a little bit deeper on the relative strength index. Currently at 59, I would like to see this thing towards the 40 level before we do have an attempt to really push the price back up. We can obviously see that the 50, 100, and 200 moving averages are way below the candles now, so we've got a good amount of room there as well. We have obviously had the cross here, across these, the 50 moving average finally going back across, and we've just had the 100 crossing the 200 moving average as well. So some pretty good stuff happening there. We can see the volumes were increasing briefly, and the volumes ultimately have now actually started to decrease as the price is decreasing too. So that's helping to protect the VeChain price as it continues to move to the upside. So right now for VeChain, we are looking pretty good. My expectations with VeChain are that we'd have a bit of a pullback. Not too far. That will correct the relative strength index before we go ahead and take another step to the upside. We're then going to have probably lots of these little kind of steps as we generally move our way up into our yellow box before we eventually actually have a complete breakout and get that closed candle up there. I do think it's going to be a slow journey for VeChain, but I do believe that VeChain will succeed in this. And I do think that long-term, as a long-term holder of VET, it is going to be a phenomenal winner long-term. the things that VeChain is doing worldwide is just phenomenal. And there's very few projects with as many integrations and as many use cases worldwide as VeChain. It is incredibly undervalued for everything that it is delivering, at least in my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor, nor is Chris, but my opinion is that VeChain is something that people should be paying attention to, because it is a significant blockchain. And there's only one VeChain and only one, 5-star service, blockchain service provider in the world, that is VeChain. So there's very few projects that can kind of compete with this at that business level. So this is looking incredibly bullish to me. It looks like we've had that breakout event. It looks like that's going to continue. We do have these little corrections on the way, but VeChain should be a significant player in 2021's bull run. It's already done phenomenally well, and I think there's a lot more in the tank. And as I pull this back down, we can see the expectations. If I actually pull this back into our daily view, where I think this is likely to go. I have marked out a dollar level here, but there is the potential that this thing could go much higher. And time's the hardest thing to gauge. We do not know if it's going to be a slow burn to get there, or it's going to be a big burn, like a really super quick parabolic run. But one thing is for certain, I am very, very confident at this point in time of seeing about a dollar level VeChain. It may even go much higher than that. Depending on various different things that are happening in the world, different kind of integrations with different exchanges. We'll speculate on Coinbase and things like that, but ultimately this thing is very well positioned to do incredibly well, both in 2021, but also in the longer term, say 2025, 2030. Chris, anything else that you want to add for VeChain?
Yeah, just, fundamentally, it's a solid project, and you're starting to see bigger channels talking about VeChain now. I mean, we got in so early, and I see this dip, crash, however we want to frame it, as a real opportunity to be purchasing this particular cryptocurrency at a discounted price, because I do think it's majorly undervalued. And yeah, I would say go do your research. If this is one you're not invested in, go research it. I'm sure you're going to love what you find.
Fantastic. Guys, if you found this useful and informative, do go ahead and hit that like button. We both really do appreciate that. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you'd like to stay up to date with all of those new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems, technical analysis, and news, then do go ahead and subscribe. By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything. It is free. You'll stay well informed. So why not? With that said, done and out of the way, we hope you have a fantastic day, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, take care.